You must not have seen such a superhero. His ability is very outstanding, but refused to join the X-Men. He is always a maverick. A red tights are made by himself. He is always full of negative energy. He never forgives when facing his enemies. He will not hesitate to shoot his enemies. He is always full of foul language. His hands are always doing dirty tricks and often loses everything. Even when he was on a mission, he would forget his weapon in the inheritance car. He's known by his nickname. Before Reynolds went on a mission, he always listened to a piece of pop music leisurely and also forget to interact with the audience. When the enemy appears, he leaps from the catwalk, jumping straight into the enemy's car. He beat the hell out of them. He is not only strong and athletic. When dealing with the enemy, he always has an endless supply of ideas. For example, putting a cigarette lighter straight into his opponent's mouth. For him it was a simple opening. Next, he will use the 2 guns in his hand and 12 bullets to destroy the enemy. He jumped on the spot. A side flip. Instantly shot 2 bullets. Then a motorcycle killer came at him head-on with a machine gun to shoot him wildly. As a result, his right hand was shot through a big hole. Blood flowed from his right hand, but he did not seem to feel any pain. Shot at the killer 3 times in a row, but the other car was too fast. Perfectly dodged his 3 bullets. Looking at the fleeing killer, he was very angry because there were not many bullets left. Then he first shot the enemy next to him, and then he used his agility to seduce his opponent. He finished all the bullets. When the enemy found him, he was already lying leisurely on the ground, directly the other side of the perfect headshot. At this point, there were still 5 bullets left. He looked at the bomb in the enemy's hand. Without hesitation, he got up and fired. The bullets came out hard and fast. Then he began to dance. But before he could be pleased with himself, the enemy behind him suddenly attacked and knocked him to the ground. Seeing that he didn't move, the enemy thought he was completely dead. He was about to approach to check, unexpectedly received a shot. Then he got up from the ground with difficulty. He limped up to the enemy. He fired 2 more shots at the corpse of the enemy, although the anger was vented, but the bullet was the last one left. In the face of 3 enemies' strong firepower, he still did not panic at all. A flip and shot the last bullet out. Perfect 1 through 3. Just when he was proud of himself again, he found an enemy suddenly stood up. It turns out that the bullet only killed the first 2. It didn't penetrate the last one. His opponent took out his dagger. He rushed towards him with great vigor, immediately pulled out the double knives on his back, stabbed into the other man's body with force, like a human kebab, raised the opponent high in the air. Then, with a swing of both hands, the opponent's body was completely split in half. Seeing this, we can't help but have questions. Is he really a superhero? Why is he so brutal? In fact, the reason he became like this is from his tragic experience. He was carrying 2 knives, wearing a red straitjacket. He always wears a mask. He took out 3 enemies with 1 shot, then inhaled the smoke from the muzzle as a perfect ending. Just as he was about to leave, suddenly, a motorcycle killer sped past him. He immediately removes the knife from his back, and then he threw it with his hand. The killer fell off the bike. He went up and stabbed the killer through the body, then was about to take him away. But then the X-Men appeared out of nowhere and instantly threw him off. They wanted Reynolds to join the X-Men, but while they were arguing, the assassin behind him took the opportunity to slip away. This made him very unhappy. He got up and threw a punch, and his opponent was unharmed. His right hand was broken. Then he punched the monkey to escape. The left hand was broken again and looked at his hands hanging down. Reynolds kicked again. He not only cannot do anything to the other side, he was also taken away by force. Let him join the X-Men, but with his maverick personality, he couldn't just give in. He took out his knife, did not even think about cutting off his own hand to escape the scene. Leaving the war police look at the international gesture of a helpless face. Do not think he will be hurt because of this. On the contrary, this is his superpower. No matter what the extent of physical damage, he can always quickly recover. After a short time, a small hand slowly grows out. Although he had strong superpowers, but he did not live a happy life because he lost everything he had. His name was Wade. Was a mercenary. He lived a very ordinary life and a beautiful girlfriend. They were very happy together. Just as they were about to get married, tragedy struck. Wade was diagnosed with cancer. in order to be with his girlfriend. He easily trusted a mysterious organization and let them treat him. Only when he arrived did he discover it was an illegal underground laboratory. The owner of the lab was the killer he had been looking for. The killer used him as a test subject. If the experiment is successful, not only will the cancer be cured, he would also have superpowers. In order to stimulate the mutant gene in his body, the killer tortured him every day with various kinds of torture. Sometimes he was made to lie in cold water filled with ice. Sometimes he was tortured with electric motors. Wade thought the cancer would be cured if he endured it, but he was too naive. Not everyone can be a superhero. His genes and drugs didn't match. Not only did the killer abandon him, they put him in a vacuum chamber and disfigured him completely. Looking at his face like a dead man, Wade was devastated. He stole a match while he was talking to the other side. Then he set fire to the vacuum chamber and prepared to commit suicide. Just as the lab was turning into a sea of fire, a miracle happened. Wade woke up. The killers wrestled together, but he did not expect. The killer was also a victim of the experiment. He could not feel any pain. Naturally, Wade was no match for him. He was quickly knocked to the ground by the killer. Then a steel bar pierced his body. He was nailed to the ground. Wade was unable to fight back, spitting blood from his mouth. He couldn't get out of the lab. He could only let the fire slowly engulf him. The lab was eventually burned to ashes. The killer thought Wade was dead. But Wade, who already possessed superpowers, how can it be so easy to die? This man with a wrinkled face, he's broadcasting live on his sewing machine. Can you imagine him as a superhero? In order to make a suitable dress, he can work overtime day and night. Finally, he made a white suit. It was perfect with black sunglasses. He soon discovered the downside. Whenever he was shot, the white suit was always stained with blood. He had to take it to the dry cleaners again. To avoid this trouble, he simply changed his uniform to red. Sure enough, after a new set of equipment, not only less trouble, also improved a lot of combat power. Do not see him fighting criminals all day long. He is not the kind of hero to save the world. Everything he does is for one thing only: find the killer who disfigured him, and then let them help him restore his handsome face, because the only way to get back to his old self. He had the courage to go back to his girlfriend. The killer had found out about him in advance, and had already taken his girlfriend. Wade, in order to save his girlfriend, Wade had to put aside his dignity to seek the help of Colossus. He thought that with these two people, he thought he could easily defeat the other side. Little did he know that the other side also had a super strong woman. She leapt from the sky. One punch sent Colossus flying for tens of meters. Colossus was not convinced. He got up and continued to fight, but he was still beaten by his opponent. Finally found a chance to fight back, but accidentally hit by the other side of the vitals. He instantly fell to the ground. Seeing that Colossus is no match, Wade decided to take on the fight himself. He took out the double swords on his back. With skilled knife skills, quickly eliminated all the opponents. At this moment, his girlfriend was put into the vacuum chamber by the killer. If we do not save her quickly, then she will also be disfigured. Peter took the double knives, and the killer's axe began to fight. They fought back and forth. Their strength was very close, but in order to save his girlfriend, he used a knife to pierce the vacuum chamber. In the absence of a weapon, Wade instantly fell into the disadvantage. He was stabbed in the head by the killer. Not life-threatening, but the consciousness has begun to confuse, but cast into everyone in danger. Finally burst out, full of energy. He rushed to the ground from high altitude. Powerful burst of force around the town of the Earth to collapse. Killer by the container instantly smashed away. Wade rushed to put his girlfriend in the vacuum cabin. Finally saved his life. The tragedy is that the killer told him he will never be able to return to his original appearance. Wade was devastated when he heard that. Despite Colossus's obstruction, he killed the killer with one shot. But now this ugly face. How to face his girlfriend. But fortunately, girlfriend is not a person who only pays attention to appearance. He took the initiative to remove Wade's mask. When she saw his real face, not only was he not shocked, but also very warmly said to slowly adapt. So the two of them regained the feelings they once had, tightly embraced together.